Texas, Guinan.
Well, howdy! Are you ready to have a good time? Well, Texas is big, and so am I. I was born to two Irish immigrants, Michael and Bessie Guinan, down there in Waco, Texas. Now, Waco was named for the Wichita Indians that used to live there at one time. And it became the hubbub of industry after they built the long suspension bridge over the Brazos. And my father knew that he wanted to be there, and he bought a horse ranch. And of course, he also had a dry goods store, wholesale dry goods store down there. Now, on the ranch, my two brothers and I, we rode all over that ranch, we roping and riding. Now, we went down to the local firing range to practice our shooting. And it was at the local depot, and everybody on the platform would dive for cover. They didn't know that we were sure shots. Scared them a little bit, poor thing. Anyway, my sister stayed at home, you know. And of course, Mother tried to tame me, but I was all about having a good time. One day in school, I climbed up the church steeple, took the clapper out of the bell. Well, I did sing in the church choir. And my mother and my father, they were hoping I'd be a singer one day. And of course, I can tell you this, my father's business idol was Marshall Field. And they found out that Mr. Fields had a school of dramatic arts and conservatory of music up there in Chicago. And all I had to do was sing to win a scholarship. And at 14, I went up there for a couple of years. When I got done, I came back to Waco because I wanted to go all right back to those roundups, shooting and roping and riding and all the western circuits from Texas all the way up to Oklahoma and back. Had a great time, but you know, I got to thinking about that singing, and I thought, you know what, I might want to be a chorus girl in New York, so I packed up my bag, and I went to New York. I was amazed at the vastness of it all and all the different people. And I went to work right away, hounding those casting agents every day, trying to get work. I didn't think I was ever going to get any work. I was down to my last 2 bits. I was worried. Well, one night as I was strolling down Broadway, then all of a sudden, there it was, in a great big picture window, the most magnificent piece of machinery I'd ever seen in my life. The Pierce automobile. Now, there were only 8,000 automobiles in all of the United States at the time, and most people thought they're too expensive, they spat smoke and oil and smelled. Well, not me. I knew one day I'd be going down Broadway in one of those fancy pieces of machinery. I was intrigued, so I took out a piece of paper and I sketched it. That's not bad. Showed it to an ad agency the next day for $500. Don't you know that lasted a good long time since my hotel bill was only $2 a night? Well, I finally got work and I became a Gibson girl. And I studied all the leading ladies. But you know what? A chorus girl doesn't get noticed very much in the back line, not unless she does something unique and different. So I asked the stage manager one night, I said, well, is it okay if I ride my horse up on the stage and show him my roping and riding? He said, yes. So I got on my stage and rode up on the stage, rode down that runway. You should have seen everybody take cover underneath their table. They had no idea that I had complete control of my saddle. Now, I'll tell you, I can twirl the lariat, rope that steer, shoot and ride to beat any tobacco-chewing cowpoke. And little did I know that there was an agent out there in the audience from California, and he came to me after the show. He said, Miss Guinan, how would you like to be in those, moving picture shows out there in California? And I said, well, okay, what do you want me to be in the westerns? Oh, okay, so I packed up my bag and I went to California, and I signed a contract for 26 two-reel films. Now, our shows moved swift and furious, and there was no grade between the good and evil. I became the heroines of my westerns, and I could round up all the undesirables, kick them out of town, and get my man, too. Well, let's see. What do I remember? Hellcat, Little Miss Deputy, Spitfire, She Was. Oh, I tell you, they were something else. And Well, you know what? We wore out the horses, bless their little hearts. We had to change them as often as we changed our hats. So, and even though I was an expert horsewoman, and I did my own stunts, I had some near misses. Well, I remember one time we had a little boy by a corral of wild ponies, and the idea was I was going to be up on a hill, and they were going to let those ponies out, and I was supposed to rescue him. Well, they let them out a little sooner than what I thought, and I had to go galloping, and I reached down to pick him up, and I almost missed him. My heart went to fluttering. Then also, I was going full speed on my stallion, and here comes a tree limb, and I thought, well, if I lay down on the horse, that's not going to work. So I had to swing underneath and hold on to that belly strap for dear life, and the cameraman quit filming. Then there was another time, my horse and I, we were supposed to jump over a small ravine, and he lost his shoe. And he went to tumbling, and I went to tumbling, and right then and there, they took out $400,000 in insurance out on me because they wanted me to finish all my films. Now, of course, I did. I signed other contracts with other studios, and then I had my own production company, and I went all over the United States opening up my own show. Had a grand old time, went everywhere. But you know, times were changing. And at 32, they decided they didn't want me in Hollywood anymore. They wanted those young, you know, fresh faces. And that's how that goes, you know, sometimes. Well, all the new entertainment I understood, and this thing I'll show you, all the new entertainment was those jazzy nightclub places, you know, sipping all those fancy drinks and highballs. And I thought about that some more, and I thought, you know, I think I want to go right back to New York and see what all this stuff is about. So, of course, I packed up my bags, and as soon as I arrived in New York, I got work right away. Because, you know, I was well known for my vaudeville and all my westerns. And I believe, let's see, well, I can't remember the name of the musical. You know, you think you remember things, but, you know, age kind of catches up on you. Anyway, I believe it was at the Winter Garden. And when I got to the Winter Garden, we had several shows going on. And, well, let's see. No, I'll see if I can remember. Oh, yeah, one night after the show, we all decided, well, there's several of us, we went down to the local hotel lounge. And, well, nothing much was going on. And somebody shouted out, Tex, sing for us. And, well, I sang everything that I knew. And in between the songs, we heckle each other. And we would spur each other along. The more that we heckled each other, the more that we spurred each other on, the hotel manager noticed that everybody was spending more and more money on, well, you know, those eyeballs and special drinks. And he came to me, he said, Miss Gunn, how would you like to be the mistress of ceremonies here at our establishment? And I thought about that, and I was wondering how much money I could make. Well, I didn't think too long, and I thought, well, you know what, that might be a really good idea. Mistress of ceremony. That is how I got started in, you know, the nightclub entertainment business. And it was very lucrative for me. And I enjoyed it so because the main thing I wanted to do is I wanted to make my customers happy. So I promptly got busy, and I've got my girls in my show and all of that. And I think about that time I met Mr. Larry Fay. Mr. Fay, at the time, was known, let's see, he was a businessman and racketeer. And he and I formed a partnership, and we decided we were going to open our own club, and we named it the El Fay. And we were having a good old time. Well, we got raided and padlocked. So we just moved 2 blocks down and opened up the Delphi. You know, we had the Elphi and the Delphi. Elphi and Delphi. Now, I never did know what Mr. Fay did in the back room. I didn't want to know. Because I was all about our dancing girls, you know, entertainment. Well, of course, we got raided again. Oh, no, let me tell you this first. The coppers were always trying different ways to, you know, close us down. So one of the things they said is, well, you've got too many people in your establishment, you're going to have to limit the number of people that are there. Well, we didn't count how many people, we packed them in like sardines. We were all having a good time. And then they said, well, now you're going to have to limit the number of hours your girls work. You have too many girls, you need more men. Well, I had to have muscle men because I didn't allow for any toughness and roughness or freshness with my girls. I have a respectable establishment. And it didn't matter if you were a prominent person, if you were fresh with my girls, I'd stop that show right then and kick you out. Now, it sounded like I was tough and rough, but we're really a friendly lot. We got to know our customers by their first names. And one evening we had a gentleman come on in here, sucker, have a good old time, sit right here with us. We had a gentleman come, he paid his cover charge. And I tried and tried to get to know his name, and all he would tell me was he was in the dairy business. And he enjoyed our entertainment so much. Give the little ladies a hand, give them a big hand. Well, he enjoyed all that. He decided he was going to give all of my girls $50 a piece. Oh, big butter and egg man. And from that point on, we had a competition as to who would be the first and biggest butter and egg man. Well, then we got raided again, and the chief of police came to personally escort me to jail. And I said, is this an invitation affair? Well, let me get my coat. Then I yelled at Tommy. Tommy's my brother. Tommy, bring along $500 because I might want to gamble while I'm in jail. And we had 100 of our patrons follow us because they wanted to see the show. Well, the next day, I appeared before the court. And the judge, he would always ask me, Miss Tex, do you sell booze? Oh, please, don't be silly. The only thing in my cellar is chocolate and vanilla. I swear I never drank, and neither do my girls. And I'll tell you, I can sell a pitcher of ice for the same price somebody got for scotch before Prohibition. Well, what is a girl supposed to do when her customers bring their whiskey on their hips into our establishment? I am just an employee who sells setups. Well, a lot of establishments, you know, got raided and padlocked. So Broadway decided to have a satire called Padlocks in 1927. Of course, they asked me to be in it. And I earned a substantial amount of money per week. I had to have every dime because every time we were raided, I had to pay a $1,000 fine. Well, then after that, Mr. Fay found out that in Florida there was a real estate boom, and he wanted to take part of that. And he wanted us to pack up everything and move there, and that's what we did. And we opened the Miami Delphi. Now, the real estate brokers thought that we were going to take all their business away from them in real estate. And I said, fellas, now you take them by the sun, and I'll take them by the moon, and we won't interfere in each other's business. Now, that didn't last too long because Mr. Fay and Larry and I had a disagreement. He wanted to stay there. I wanted to go back to New York. And, honey, let me tell you, I'm no quitter. I opened up my own establishment on 54th Street called 300 Club. And I became known as the queen of the nightclubs. And it is tough being a hostess on Broadway, let me tell you. Now, of course, in 1929, we had the Great Depression, the crash of the market, and it was a dark time. And so I thought that I would take my girls over to Europe and let them experience foreign travel. And so I had a great old big send-off party at our steamer. And we got on our steamer and we were going along, having a whale of a time. And all of a sudden I got a cablegram saying they were not going to let us land in England. And I thought, well, what does England have against me? And they were saying that my girls were only wearing 2 pants and letting them close up. And I was going, that is not so. Huh, what is going on? Well, we just went on down the shore of France. And as soon as we docked, the French police came on board and said, no, wait a minute, we're going to have to check your passports. Well, these are only good for tourism. They're not for work. I think the French were worried we were going to take work away from their own people, and we were only there to make people happy. So they did promptly take us to our hotel, and we were there confined for 10 days. In all the years I was raided and padlocked, it's the first time I ever felt like I was really in jail. I have never been convicted of a crime. There's no scandal about me. Well, I received 1,000 telegrams, cablegrams, inviting my girls and our review back in the States to wherever we wanted to go. Well, as soon as they let us out of the hotel and we got on the steamer and went back to New York, and second we docked, when I went down the dock, there were 100 newspaper reporters going, Miss Guinan, Miss Guinan, is this true about your girls and your shows? And I said, I'd gladly pay someone $100,000 to substantiate these claims against my character. Well, I decided right then and there we'd have our own review. We'd take it all over the United States. We're going to call it Too Hot for Paris. And we had a great time, and we gave part of our earnings to the local unemployment relief everywhere we went. And our review was really hot. And all of this got back to the French somehow. And all of a sudden I got a letter from the Secretary of France inviting me back to Paris. So I went for 10 days, enjoyed my stay, and bought some beautiful gowns for my girls, and bought some gowns for myself. Well, I came back home, and all of a sudden I had a yearning to go back to my Western roots, and I decided to go to the Western circuits and ride the parade on my favorite horse, Petticoats. And I would wave in the parade. I think the last one, or the most recent one, let's see, was Labor Day, 1933, in the Oklahoma Stampede at the Rose Bowl. Now, for many decades after that, there were people that tried to impersonate me and, on stage and scream. But let me tell you, if they knew the real story, it would be a humdinger. Well, I'll turn now. Okay. I knew that all my life people tried to take parts of me, and I'm going to dare you. I'm just going to dare you to take all of me.
Can't you see?
this character a while back. And what happened is I did little bitty 5-minute characters all over campus. Well, that actually originated with my sister-in-law. She's really good. And so I copied her. And I had a ball and had a blast. Deborah brought this book to me. It's called the More Than Petticoats, Remarkable Texas Women. And she gave it to me well in advance for about a year, so I had plenty of time to get my costume together and read some of the resources in here. I didn't know I was going to be a historian for women because I'm a mathematician and computer scientist. But I like arts and crafts too. But I read, there's 10 stories in here, and I picked out Miss Guinan because there's a picture of her when she was a little bit older, reminded me of my mom's mom, my grandmother. And so I picked out Miss Guinan, and she's pretty colorful, let me tell you. And you might have seen Phyllis Diller portray her one time, and I think Betty Hutton also. And one of the resources was this book, and most of my script came from this book. And I highlighted it, and hopefully memorized it. And so they wanted me to write up something about myself, and I go, oh dear, what am I going to write? So I wrote a little bit, and I put a picture of this book. And this is by Greta Anderson, and she has written some other books about women throughout the United States, and there are other authors that have done this same series. And it's pretty interesting. And then Deborah came and asked me to do another character, and I went, oh. And so last February, I did Mary Ann Dyer Goodnight, and I enjoyed reading all about Mr. Goodnight. And I thought, okay, what about Miss Goodnight? And I've been up to the Panhandle and Powder Canyon before, and I've been to the museum. And I was hoping it would have been nice if I could have flown up there, because Miss Goodnight's diaries are up there, and I could have gotten a little bit insight on her. But I've enjoyed both of these, and I had a great time researching those and presenting them to you, and so I hope you enjoyed it as well. So I think I'm done.